Welcome to the number one friendship podcast in the country. I'm Aaron Karo.
I'm Matt Ritter.
And make sure to go to manoftheyearpodcast.com to buy our merch and watch our clips and episodes on YouTube. Matt, before we get into it, I saw this article in the Times about the increasingly dire situation of single people at weddings. Because people are getting married later and later. So oftentimes you're at weddings where there's really not that many single people, unlike when you were 25. And it's all about, there's a lot of slow dancing. There's, everyone's talking about in-laws and house hunting, and you're at the singles table or there is no singles table. So a controversial proposal has been making the rounds, which is to split up the couples.
Whoa.
So if you attend a wedding with Jess, she's at a different table and you're at your own table. And that way it's not such a couple sort of partitioned out thing and everybody's hanging out, on their own, at least when you're sitting. And I think this is brilliant. Okay. You can stand to be away from your significant other for, the meal portion or whatever part of the wedding. It makes everybody feel more comfortable. You get to mingle a little bit. What do you think?
Wow. That's a hot one. I've never read about this or heard about this. Let me mull this for a second. So I've been to a lot of weddings this year, believe it or not. I mean, like Jess's phase, she's a little younger. Her friends are all getting married. And most of them were tables of people. There weren't a lot of close couple friends or friends of mine. So, if they had shook it up a little, would that have been better or worse for me? Probably worse.
Except that when it's not about you, though, it's about the single people.
I know. But you're asking me what I think about it. I'm saying, are we going to cater to the few single people and make it less? I'm just saying, what's going to happen to everybody else? Would that make it worse for me? Probably. If it's a wedding where it's a lot of my friends and a lot of my wife's friends, then I think maybe it would be more fun to mix it up.
It's interesting because, I'm trying to get into your shoes when you go to one of Jess's friends' wedding. You don't really know anybody. Now, you are obviously the most gregarious person that I know.
But I'd still rather be at a table with my wife in that situation.
Right. But imagine you were at a table where it was all married people, but none of their spouses. So nobody had a spouse to lean on.
It's fine, but I do enjoy spending time with my wife at weddings.
Yeah.
I think part of it is, there is a little bit of a romantic element for your own, marriage, and the notion of going to a wedding makes you kind of feel a little bit about your own relationship.
I mean, especially if it's not someone that it's like you're going to a wedding and you're sitting at a table. Like Jess is dragging you to a wedding in Kansas City and you're just not even seeing her.
That's what I'm saying. That wouldn't work for me. But it was a wedding where it's like, hey, at your wedding, do we want to put all the the Plainview crew together and their wives in another? Yeah, let's do it. We're going nuts. We're doing a lot of boy stuff anyway. But I do think, to the larger question of what is the purpose of inviting all these people to a wedding, is to share in your special day. It's about you first and foremost. But I do think you want everybody there to feel comfortable. And I don't think you should just ignore the fact that single people are, isolated at certain weddings. And I've always been I've always been the plus one for everybody. I'm on the extreme end of that debate. Bring a friend if you want. I've always been plus what. You don't have to have a significant other. It could be a very, very insignificant other.
What's funny is that this article, and it's proposing some very groundbreaking solutions. It's going the opposite. Nobody gets a plus one. So if Jess's college friend is getting married, she just goes without you.
Right, but what if I'm also? That doesn't make sense. I'm also friends.
If you're also friends, then you get the invite. But it's literally like someone you don't know, then you don't get it.
Yeah. I don't know. We're getting a little nonsensical here. I think the underlying, question they're asking is, should we cater to make sure that every person there feels comfortable? That's why I've always said the answer is plus ones for everybody. If you're going to do a smaller wedding, anybody you're inviting, they should, feel like they shouldn't feel left out. And sometimes that's hard.
Let me
I was
ask
at
you.
a miscellaneous table, man, like you would never imagine.
Oh yeah, the odds and the ends. Let me ask you sort of unrelated question. I always find like weddings are basically based around dancing.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's really odd because it's not anything that we ever do normally.
I
And
like
like,
where you're going with this. Keep going. This I like.
and I'm just like, if I get married, I don't really, I don't really dance. I don't really want to dance. 5 hours on the dance floor seems so random.
I've never thought of that once before in my life, and it's now so obvious to me how awkward and like unnecessary that is.
Now, some
It's
people
like
are at the bar at the table, but like,
it's like when in Goodwill Hunting, when she's like, "We should go get a coffee," and he goes, "Oh, we should get some caramels." And he's like, "What?" He's like, "Well, you think about it, it's just as random as getting coffee with another person."
right. Yeah. Yeah.
So, what should we do? I want to. Do you have an alternative to the dance?
I have an idea of like it's a more of a festival slash carnival.
I like it.
So
St.
maybe there's
Pius, St. Pius Fair.
right,
That
right.
was our elementary school fair.
Yeah, like maybe there's like games, maybe there's a Ferris wheel. I don't know.
I like what you're saying.
So anyway,
I
just this
like that. That's
yeah,
festive. I agree. So I went to like 5 weddings this year, and all of them have the same general pattern that's pretty boring.
right.
People like milling around, and then they sit for the vows, which is fine. That's standard stock fare. And then they're milling around for an hour for the happy hour, just milling, not really getting beyond small talk with anyone. And then you go find your table. You sit at your table. I was sitting on odds and ends table, not really talking to anybody. It's too loud. I can't really hear anybody other than my wife. And then 5 hours of dancing.
I have another proposal. Eliminate the cocktail hour.
Hmm.
Why are we standing and eating and then sitting? Like, why is that a separate hour?
So I'm off you on that one, because I actually think that's the best part, because at least you're standing and mingling. The other part, you're just stuck at these tables. You can't talk to anybody else, and you're just only talking to 1 or 2 people, either your wife or some stranger, the whole time.
Yeah, I mean, you're not really mingling that much at these.
Yeah.
You're standing there eating your food. You're shoveling it into your mouth.
I'm just at the sushi station, not moving from there.
Right.
I'm just eating sushi, then getting right back on the sushi line while it's still in my hand.
Even though not the same amount of time between breakfast and lunch has passed, how come at the cocktail hour at a wedding we feel like you've never eaten in your life?
Ravenous, like you would never, like I've been in prison. It's my first day out. Please, sir, can I have some more?
So, all right. So that was my wedding rant. But I wanted to talk
You're a
about
single guy, so what? I mean, do you really believe in that? I mean, or is that just like
which part?
that we should start doing that?
Which part?
What they said, not
Oh,
having.
splitting up the couples.
Yeah. I'll try it. I'll try it at one of our inner core weddings. If your wedding, I'll try it.
I mean, having the guys and the girls separately is kind of fun.
I'll try it. Let's do it. That's your wedding. Let's do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know why. I don't know why my wedding's got to be the experiment. We'll see. Maybe someone.
I don't know anyone else in my inner core that's not married, so I don't want to do it.
Well, when I do get married, we'll have to make sure that we keep score of whose wedding was best. That was a terrible transition.
Wedding scores?
It literally doesn't even make sense. And it's not even the topic, but we wanted to talk about
Yeah, but my wedding has to have ranked very highly. Now that you're talking about scoring.
Well, I officiated your wedding, so
you're biased.
Yeah, I am very biased.
But it was fun. I mean, come on, the slide when you slid across the floor. I mean, how many weddings did you slide? Did you do a full body slide across the floor?
Well, again, you're telling from my perspective, it was great because I was basically the third lead.
Yeah. I forget. Was there anybody there? Not to get too personal, but how'd that go in the single scene of my wedding?
It didn't. It was okay.
Okay, wasn't one of your top. Wasn't one of your best.
wasn't one of my best. Anyway, let's talk about keeping score in friendships. And
Ooh.
do you want to sort of clarify that, like, actually, you actually can do a better job of articulating what we mean by keeping score?
A lot of you out there have had this moment where, you're thinking about, why didn't this friend do this thing for me? Or I drove my friend to the airport and now I need a ride. So he has to drive me, or I helped my friend move and now I'm moving. And, or I just paid for dinner last time. So obviously they're paying for this time. And I think a lot of the problem is friendship is not meant to be transactional. If you start looking at friendships as a transaction, you're not getting what you should be getting out of your friendship, which is a lot of positive feelings and, feeling that you're in it for the right reasons. And so I think we all have a tendency to keep score. We're going to do it. I'm not saying don't ever do it, but I think you have to just be wary of focusing so much on the keeping score of friendship. I don't think it's that healthy.
So let's say I'm going to pick a random example. A couple times, our buddy Jeff, this is back in the day, was like, I really need you to take my dog out. Something happened at work or whatever. I lived close, and I'd go over to his place and, walk the dog. And I don't have a dog. And that was fine. Now, never in my life did I ever think, oh, he owes me one. Now, are you saying that some people think that way, or are you saying that, like, if I ask him for a favor and he says no, I should be like, what the F?
I'm saying that most people do think that, not most people, a lot of people think that way, and a lot of people will react that way if they now have a situation where they're doing the ask and the other person says no. They're immediately going to go, but I walked your dog 3 times.
But isn't that kind of, aren't they right?
I was going to say they are a little bit right. So that's why I said it's not like off base to keep score, but we have to put things in perspective here. When I think this episode should be about, when is it okay to keep score and how kind of far into the scoring can we get before it's unhealthy, right? And how lopsided can the score get before we go, hey, is something going on with this friendship? I mean, I think on some level, as I said, on some level, we're all keeping score, whether we want to admit it or not. And we have a running tally, even though it's not super healthy to live that way. We all, again, I'm a realist. We're trying to give people tips to friend in a healthy way, but I also know that we're all filled with flaws.
I wonder if we could maybe break down the premise of this a little bit, which is that, okay, if your buddy does something for you, I mean, that's just what friendship is about.
Yes.
Friendship
is 2 words: showing up.
Right. I mean, I suppose, we've all said I owe you one. And, sometimes it's okay.
I agree. Like, I have my coffees in the morning, my Dilfs of Largemont, and we alternate getting coffee. And that is keeping score, but that's totally healthy keeping score.
But that's almost like so low stakes.
Totally.
That it doesn't even
How about
count.
this one? We had one where I did keep score with our friend who would watch Olive, who's no longer with us, and we would watch their dog. And it got to the point where they were taking a lot more trips than us.
Right. Didn't we? Or maybe someone had a listen.
I think we did talk about that maybe.
Right.
And I started keeping score even though I didn't want to.
Yeah.
It started a little bit, started to bother me a little bit, not like majorly, but it was just like, all right, you're going to have to need to look elsewhere now if it's like 5-1.
So in that respect, the other person should be self-aware enough and they should either be like, without even saying anything to you, try to find alternatives. Or did they think, because friends aren't mind readers, that you enjoyed it?
Right.
Didn't care.
Again, if this isn't communicated, right? But as I said, you should, like what you just said, you have to be a little self-aware. If you're always on the one side of the ledger, always asking for things, it's not a good look. We have another friend. Every time we see them, there's an ask involved. It seems like that almost every single time. And I'm like, what is this?
What kind of asks?
I don't want to get too deep into this, but it's tangentially financial.
Got it. Like work, related shit. Yeah.
Things that are either direct financial asks or indirect financial asks in some way, or time asks, which is also,
time is money.
Yeah.
Well, why don't we talk about that a little bit? Because, the coffee thing was a very small example, but we have a lot of listeners who have a imbalance with their friendship as far as finances. They've got more money than their buddy. They've got less money. We used to talk about this all the time. We haven't in a while. And how do you handle that? Like if the quote rich friend, is always taking care of you, like, do you owe them something? If they ask you for a favor, need to come running, or is it just, it is what it is?
It's a tough one. My take is that friendship is never going to be 50-50. I've always said this. And I've also always said that everybody has a different role in a friendship group. And it just so happens that some people are always going to be doing better than others. And some people are going to be much better. And some people are going to be very generous. And some people are not going to be generous. And if you have a very generous friend who it's clear that they like to take care of their friends, I think that's okay. I think you shouldn't take advantage of that. It should be clear that they are okay with it. We all know when a friend is like the type of friend who really like wants to pay for stuff.
Yeah.
I think you definitely should try and show up for them in other ways, to whatever that means for the friendship. Sometimes friendships can't be 50-50. That's the other thing that I think people don't necessarily realize is like, sometimes you're in a friendship with somebody that's more well off. And so that part of the friendship, the financial part's never going to be 50-50, right? And maybe the friendship won't even be 50-50 just because, we don't even have to look at keeping score. Again, like that's why I don't like looking at it as keeping score. Sometimes some friends just give more, they're givers, and that's just who they are. And they're in a position to do that. And sometimes you're not in a position. And even if you want to do stuff for them, there's not really much they need. You just being their friend is your 50%.
I'm going to make up a hypothetical here. Let's say you've got a buddy who's crushing it, and they have a summer house in the Ozarks. I don't know. I'm just making it up. And every year you go and stay with them for 2 weeks. They invite you 2 weeks. It's a great time. Is the richer friend sort of doing you a favor? Not really. I wouldn't even. I mean, they're doing something very nice. Obviously, they enjoy hanging out with you. I would buy them a dinner.
Yes, I would consider that friendship.
Right. Exactly.
And then again, I don't like looking at it as like favors. And again, I don't like looking at it through the prism of score, because if you look at it that way, then it's like, oh, well, they're up 99-1.
Right.
Your one dinner against their 2 weeks every year, like you can't compete. But you're not supposed to. Your friendship is the 50%. You spending time with them is your 50-50. You showing up as a good friend, you listening to them. Even the wealthiest people have problems and things that they're dealing with and things they need your advice with. And you buying them dinner, it's a gesture. It's saying, I value you. You could get them a gift. You could make them a gift. There's a million ways to show your gratitude, which I think you can, without it feeling like some sort of friend imbalance.
Yeah. I love that. Let's take a listener question, then come back to this. We'll be right back. Okay, guys, this is asking for a friend. If you have a friendship question or ethical dilemma, send it to us on Instagram. Our handle is Man of the Year Podcast, and we'll answer on the show. Matt, take it away.
So this was a good one for this episode. Somebody really had something that's in line with what we're talking about. My best friend and I have a tradition of always celebrating each other's birthdays. For years, her birthday, I've always thrown her surprise parties, baked her favorite cake, even organized a karaoke night once a year for mine. She always texts, meet me at this bar. And that's pretty much it. No decorations, no effort. It's like she's hosting a party for herself at my expense. This year was more of the same. She invited a couple of our friends to a random dive bar, handed me a shot, and called it a day. I don't want to sound ungrateful, haha, but it feels really one-sided, and I can't help but feel hurt. Am I being petty, or should I talk to her about this?
Well, she says we have a tradition of always celebrating each other's birthdays, but it doesn't actually sound like they have a tradition at all. She goes all out for the other birthday, and the other girl doesn't do anything. So she has a weird that's a weird analysis of her own relationship.
Right. I look, I think it's really nice that her friend does all this stuff. I mean, that she does all this stuff for her
Yeah.
friend. That's great. Why are you doing it? Are you doing it to get something in return? Are you doing it because you like doing it? Like, you're going over the top for your friend, which is great. But if you're doing it because you're expecting reciprocity and you're not getting it, like, what's going on there?
I think we talked about this many years ago, but have you ever had a surprise party thrown for you?
Never.
Me neither, and I don't think I ever will.
You don't think anyone will ever throw you one?
Can you? No, not that. I don't think
Well,
it's possible. I'll sniff it out. You know me.
Oh, yeah. I would like it at one point. If somebody throws me a surprise, I probably wouldn't sniff it out.
Oh, Matt, of course you wouldn't sniff it out.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
You wouldn't even remember it was your birthday.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. So throw me one, damn it.
No, if you act one iota different or somebody did, I'd be like, what's going on?
Yeah.
What's happening?
Yeah.
I love your question is why is she doing it? Now, she might love to entertain and go all out.
Right.
And some people are not like that. Again, to your point, Matt, the other friend may show up in other ways. What does it say about her, Matt, that she is doing this and she's feeling hurt about it? Is she feeling hurt about it because she thinks the other person doesn't care about her? Or is she like, why am I doing? Like, she created this in her head, it almost sounds like.
Yeah. Look, I think when you do things for people, you are doing them from a good place. But the more good things you do for somebody and then it doesn't get, any sort of return, it's hard not to feel something about that. It's hard not to feel something about, hey, I do this really nice thing for my friend every year and then they never do anything nice for me. I think it's hard, right? I mean, if you're the kind of person who does that stuff year after year, you're probably the kind of person who needs for somebody to do that for you.
I wonder if she
it sounds like, right? It sounds like she's the kind of person she needs somebody to show her a little more appreciation, and that's okay. But how about you haven't communicated this, right? Obviously. Like, also maybe that friend's just not that type of friend. Again, some people are not the kind of friend who's going to go out of their way and plan a big birthday for you.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know what she's doing the rest of the year.
Yeah.
But also, does the friend like her surprise parties? Maybe she's like, why is she doing this? I don't even like big birthdays.
I think she probably does like it and she probably does enjoy it. And she's just the kind of friend who's kind of I would call it, she's probably not the best friend for this person.
Yeah.
Like, if you're like two close friends, you're the one who's planning this other person's birthday and they're not really doing anything for you. Like, I don't know. Most people I know that are in good friendships, like, if one person goes out of their way for them every other year, that doesn't mean the other person also has to do that. But it means that, like, they have to do something.
I think she should stop planning this girl's birthdays.
Yeah.
And see what she says.
Right. You think she just stopped doing it?
Yeah. She'd be like, oh, don't be too passive aggressive. Be like, hey, this year was a little crazy. And the woman, if the friend's like, oh, no problem, then maybe she never cared in the first place. If she's like, oh my God, really? Then
listen, I'm a fan of communication on this one a little bit. But also you could get out ahead of it, because she may just not be the planner of the group. Right. So if you are, right, if this person is the planner of the group, you might just be like, hey, I was thinking of doing something a little bit bigger for my birthday this year. I would love it if you
plan your own birthday.
Right. Plan your own birthday, but get the friend to help So like you're planning it still, but then you feel good about her like
Oh, that's
assist,
not bad.
putting in an assist. A lot of times people are not built like that to plan things. They're not planners,
That's not bad.
Because by the way, if you actually think about it, she is planning your birthday every year, according to this email.
Who is?
The bad friend.
Well, she's just basically going to a bar.
Just basically, but I'm just
Right.
saying.
Right.
She's getting people together.
Yeah. Invite a couple more
So
friends. Yeah.
that is like, look, at a certain age, that is planning a birthday. For most
Yeah.
of us, for most of us, that's above and beyond what most people do at this age. If you're calling and texting the friends and saying, "Hey, it's Sherry's birthday and we're all getting together at the bar," like you've kind of done your job as a friend.
Right.
So it's not like I know, like I understand, like, hey, I go out and I do balloons and I do, whatever, and I do this whole big spread, like, because it sounds like that's who you are.
By the way, she says I even organized a karaoke night one year. Well, that's not much organization. You go to a karaoke place.
Right. Again, that's why I think communication is key, because like there's really not much more to be done to change it from this person does nothing for me to, hey, this is what I wanted. Thanks for doing that. Which is like, hey, thanks for organizing my birthday last year. If you're planning on organizing it this year again, can we do something? I'll give you some recommendations. Kind of like lay it up for them to do something that will make you feel good.
To be honest, I think both of these women are Delulu.
The little Delulu?
The little Delulu. Yeah. They're both not doing anything for each other and thinking, oh, I'm doing this. They're Delulu.
I know. And again, this is why I don't like the keeping score, because, ultimately, like if you're the type of friend who goes out of their way for people, keeping score isn't going to help you.
Yeah, that's a really good point. If you're that person, then you're always going to feel empty. Like, why did I do all this stuff?
Right.
You got to do it because you want to do it.
Yes. It makes you feel good to do that for your friend. Great. Maybe you need to find a friend who's more like you.
Yeah. Like imagine the person who had the summer house inviting your friend for 2 weeks and being like, oh, I can't believe they didn't do anything for us.
Right.
Like, what are you talking
about? No. And I always try to impute the best intentions for other people and not think of them like I think she needs to reframe the way she's thinking of what her friend did. Her friend, threw her a casual birthday party. That's what she does every year. Her friend throws her casual birthday parties. And if you want it to be more, talk to her about it.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for writing in, guys. If you have a friendship question, send it to us on Instagram and we'll answer it on the show. Matt, before we wrap up, any other scorekeeping?
Yes. I wanted to come up with a rubric with you right now. If we were going to lay out a percentage and go, hey, if you are looking at your friendship and you are keeping score, what percentage is where it becomes a red flag?
Wait, but you said you should keep score.
I know, but at some point, if you are a scorekeeper, just
Right.
kind of like mentally note, if you're in your head, if it gets too lopsided, do we think that I'm not saying you should, but if there were to be a number, I'm going to go with 75.
Let me ask you this.
I'm going to go with 76.
What's the time frame?
Like in a year or 2 years?
Yeah, because there's
2-year look back.
Say again?
2-year look back.
2-year look back. Wow, that may be too long.
That's too long? I thought 1 year was too short because some years you're really busy.
It's just who can remember what anybody did for anybody 2 years ago?
I mean, you shouldn't be keeping score tit for tat, but if you are a scorekeeper and you can't help it and you're going to do it.
I think it's 6 months. It's the same as the Netflix viewing numbers.
Okay, 6 months. What do you think the number is?
Okay, so you said 76. And you're saying any 76 and higher, that's a problem.
Yeah. No friendship's going to be 50-50, and some friendships are never going to be, even just by the nature of them. But I think if this is for people who are similarly situated.
Yeah. I'm going to say 69, 2 periods in a row is a red flag.
Okay.
So if it's what, 69, 31 for an entire year. then you need to start evaluating.
That seems too low to me. The reason I said 76 is if more than 3 times where you're going out of your way for this person, it's 1 time. If it gets more than 3 to 1,
Yeah, 3 to 1 is a lot though.
yeah, but that's okay. I don't know, just as I said, I feel friendships are not always very like perfectly 50-50 with the way that friendship dynamics are. And I don't think you should be keeping score. Sometimes you're the person who just likes to do more for people, and sometimes it's the other way around. And just showing up is your thing.
I was
But
gonna,
yeah,
I was gonna say some people won't let, like, I think about Fireball Adam. He's so generous. He's always getting these tickets. He has all these hookups. And then the famous story is that one time I got tickets for him for the Warped Tour, and he said throw them in the garbage, and he got better tickets. He's like, I won't. He goes, I do not want you to do anything for me.
right. So how can you show up? Well, you could show up like you could have gone to his New Year's party.
Well, am I setting you up for you to just trash me here?
No, but I do think for people like that who are completely a lot of people who are in that category, they're just mensches, and it's hard to go, oh, well, I can't, I'm never going to be able to give him the things he gives me. Well, show up. As I said, be a good friend, figure out ways to be a good friend to that person. I think that's sometimes maybe it requires a little more effort.
I feel like my presence is my present.
That's good.
Oh, I thought you were going to make fun of me.
That's a start. That's a start.
Yeah. It's a start. That is a start. All right, Matt, what do we learn today?
Well, I hope people learn that you shouldn't look at friendship as a transaction. It's not good for you. It's not good for your friendship. And if you want to have healthy, sustained friendships, you should just be thinking of it as this is what friendship is when people do stuff for each other.
Yeah, maybe we should eliminate I owe you one from our vocabulary, from our brocabulary.
Yeah, I say that sometimes with the morning coffee, but maybe I should just stop saying it because it is a little antithetical to what we're doing.
I mean, sometimes when someone does something really good for me and I say I owe you one, I actually do mean it. Like, if you want to cash this in, I don't know, but I guess that's going against everything we just said. But
yeah, I like it. Let's try not to do it for a while. Let's see what happens. I'm gonna strike it from my vocabulary.
From your vocabulary. Love it. Okay, guys, let us know if you have any score-keeping issues with your buddies. Thank you guys so much for listening. Always remember, be good to yourself, be good to your friends.
Love you, buddy.